President Trump's trip to Europe appears to be more contentious than his visit to the Middle East, a day after he called NATO leaders cheapskates. Officials in Italy are hoping the G7 summit will be smooth sailing. Former House Speaker John Boehner is weighing in, saying, quote, "Everything else he's done in office has been a complete disaster. He's still learning how to be president." Joining us now to talk about the president's performance, Payton, staff writer at The Federalist, and Richard Fowler, radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor. There's some pretty harsh words coming from the former speaker, Bree.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really ironic that an ousted former speaker who was kicked out of his job because he wasn't able to toe the line and wasn't able to give his constituents what they wanted is now criticizing the president. You know, I think that it's very clear that Republicans thus far haven't been able to push for agendas or for policies that represent the concerns and the interests of their constituents. I think it's clear during the health care debacle and all of these other current negotiations, and I think John Boehner's leadership is really, he bears a lot of blame.
Richard, a complete disaster? Is that fair?
Well, one, John Boehner wasn't ousted. He left. Probably because he couldn't control his caucus, but Paul Ryan can't control the caucus either, so there you have it.
All right, answer the question.
But on this particular point, I wouldn't say it's a complete disaster, shockingly. I think there were some parts of the trip that were very well done. I thought he was great in Saudi Arabia. I thought his speech he gave on Islam was great. When he got to Europe, now that, Sandra, is where things became problematic.
What do you have a problem with?
I think the, not invoking Article 5 in his speech is number one. I think number two, I believe diplomacy is an art, right? And so the speech that he gave, sort of bashing European leaders in public, saying they need to pay more, is not exactly how diplomacy is done. How diplomacy is done is you do it behind the scenes. In these meetings, your staff and their staff work together to find a middle ground, and then you come out and present strength. He didn't do that, and that's why it was a disaster.